Okay, so I'm out at the field again, outdoors. It's pretty darned cold. Not much wind though, a little bit of wind. I see we've got a kind of unusual surprise. I'm surprised how squelchy it is. I didn't realize we'd had so much rain. There's puddles in the middle of the runway there. I came out today to try this guy. I bought this guy. This is the Horizon Hobby Delta Ray One. I bought this guy, picked this guy up on sale. Actually picked up the ready-to-fly version because it was almost 50 bucks cheaper than the bind and fly version. Just because it was on sale and the bind and fly wasn't. And you get the battery, so... But I picked it up with the idea that maybe I would be able to fly it indoors. Whether that's really going to work, I'm a bit dubious about. The guy where I picked it up, I think I ran across it on sale for 132, I think it was, Canadian. Which is a pretty good price, because it's supposed to be about 200, I think, for the ready-to-fly, 200 Canadian, originally. So, I say, the chap I was talking to in the store assured me that it should be okay to fly indoors, and I'm sure some people could fly it indoors. I mean, somebody can fly almost anything indoors. Whether I want to fly it indoors is another question. I certainly didn't feel terribly much that I wanted to Maiden it indoors. So I figured we'd try and see if we, even though it's a little cold, we'd try and see if we could Maiden it outdoors. Now, I got quite confused when I bought this, because, not so much when I bought it, when I first opened it up, because I got the manual out. Just have a look here, sorry. The manual and bits. The manual was, taped to the bottom of the foam, as these Horizon manuals usually are. And it's got it's got a quick start guide and a thick manual in umpteen languages and all these little green cards. So I started reading all these little green cards, and they're going on all about Safe Plus features, GPS and all that. I don't think this had that. Well, turns out it doesn't, but you can add it. That's the confusion. But it's all a bit confusing, so I wasn't expecting it. You can add it, but it's an extra module you have to add in to get the Safe Plus, the GPS features. It's got Safe, it's got self-leveling inherently. But the GPS, which gives you like electric fence, and I see they've made the electric fence a bit more sophisticated with this. You can set the electric fence at 3 different sizes with this one, including an airfield mode where it sort of rows where your flight line is and will go further to the ends. But this is when you've got the GPS module in, which I don't have currently. And I'm not intending to put it in, I don't think, unless at some point in the relatively distant future, at least next year, I decide to try and fly the guy FPV. If I were going to try and fly him FPV, which I suppose you could do, he's small. I only like to fly really small things FPV myself. I'm not much of an FPV flyer. I could see conceivably if this guy's docile and whatever, I might want to fly him FPV, but then I probably would like to have the GPS features, because that's really nice when you're flying FPV. You've got the extra safety that if you're not quite sure which direction you're pointing in, the plane knows, and you can ask it to head home. Anyway, I've got this bound. I've actually got this, good question. No, I may not have it bound at the moment. I've got a model set up for it in the DX9, but I don't think it's actually bound to the DX9 at the moment, because I was playing around setting models up for it in both the DX9 and my OpenTX transmitter, the Jumper. So, we'll try and rebind it here, I think. Yeah, that's shut, I guess. It's got lights, but it's hard to see the lights. Well, I certainly don't see any lights there. Have we actually got it plugged in? Yes, we do. Well, I can't see any lights, but we'll see what... Let's try and bind it and see what that does.
Binding.
Well, there you go. See, it's got lights in here, and indoors you can see them, but I couldn't see them at all. It's got like coloured lights in there that show like green for beginner mode and yellow for intermediate mode and red for experience mode, and they flash when it's waiting for a bind. But the problem is outdoors I can't see them at all. No, I really cannot see those lights at all. Nope. Oh, well, if I look from... See, if I look underneath like this, I can see them, but I can't see them shining through. The only way I can see them is to look through the grill at the bottom.
Throttle cut off. Throttle cut off.
Okay, well, it's darn cold, so I don't know how well that's going to work. We'll see. Small, but I think it's going to be fairly powerful. So we'll see. I'm going to launch it in self-leveling mode initially. Self-leveling mode can be a very mixed blessing indoors because it restricts your turn, and you've got to turn very sharply indoors. But anyway, there's a plane. I can't see him. He's up in the clouds. I can't see him. The guy down there used to at least own a plane, and he used to bring his plane into land there sometimes. Which is one reason I was, always want to check a bit carefully about planes, because sometimes they actually come into land, although I haven't seen one this year. Okay, let's see what happens with this guy. Well, didn't get on the stick quickly enough. Not surprisingly, my hands are cold. Whoa. Didn't get on the stick. Gotta get on the stick fairly quickly. Well, they said just to let him go. Was what the manual said. They said don't try and throw him too much. Just trying to see what my maximum turn is in safe mode and how he stalls. Yeah, I don't know whether safe mode's going to work indoors, because that was safe mode. I'm actually a bit surprised you can bank him that much in safe mode. We're also higher than I'd probably want to be indoors. Well, I don't want to hit the ground either, but yeah, I don't know. This guy, he's a bit damn fast. He's fine out here. I mean, I'm just mucking around trying to emulate what I'd have to do if I were flying him indoors, and he's a bit darn fast for that. Yeah, I'm very dubious about whether I'd want to fly him indoors. Yeah, because you have to keep a fair amount of speed up to keep him in the air. He doesn't stall nastily or anything, but... And he's very controllable. But he does have a bit of a tendency, as the manual even says, to go up, I guess, because they do that, for safety learners, so you don't go into the ground. So he has a bit of a tendency to want to go up, which is a problem indoors, because you'll hit the flaming lights if you're not careful in the gym, if you go up much. And he doesn't turn very fast. He's not meant to be a slow... He's clearly not really meant to be a slow flyer. I'm trying to see how slow I can get away with flying him, but he's going to be very marginal to fly in the gym, I can see. Yeah, see, I'd probably have hit the wall there trying to do that in the gym. And then hit the lights if I'm not careful afterwards. Hit myself if I'm not careful here. One thing about this is it's a pusher, so if you did hit yourself, you wouldn't really hurt yourself particularly. I'm kind of concentrating a bit here on what he would be like, as I say, to fly in the gym, and my hands are progressively freezing because it's actually below freezing, I think, at the moment.
Time remaining 3 minutes.
That's based on a 6-minute timer, which is what the manual suggested. Not that I did everything as per the manual, but I'll mention a couple of things about that in a minute. I changed a couple of things from what the manual said. Okay.
Intermediate mode. Experienced mode.
Let's put him in experienced mode. Oh, he's definitely a bit trickier to fly in experienced mode. I think I'd rather stick to beginner mode in the gym, because you can turn him pretty fast even in beginner mode. And you don't want to be, I mean, it's all very well and good here because I can go higher, but
Beginner mode.
you know, if you're high, I don't mind flying him in experienced mode when I've got a bit more room and I can go higher, but I don't particularly want to, he's a little bit twitchy like that, I don't particularly want to be flying him in that mode really close to the ground. And I got to fly close to the... I'm actually really surprised how sharply I can bank him in beginner mode. I lose altitude if I'm not... Well, I do lose altitude, because he has no rudder. He's just a flying wing, just elevons. You probably could just about fly him indoors, but... be more fun to fly outdoors, really. Well, outdoor flying is pretty much always more fun. I mean, indoor flying, it's a constant trial of trying to deal with the walls and the other people and whatever. It's a bit of an exercise, but it's something that gets you out of the house in the winter at least. I'm impressed actually by how sharply he turns in beginner mode, I must say.
Time remaining 1 minute.
Should probably bring him in then. He's got a folding propeller, no undercarriage. Whoops. Ow, hands are cold. Folding propeller helps to stop it getting whacked, and it's going to be more forgiving here. It should be more forgiving here than indoors, because indoors... I don't know what, it looks almost as a mark on the propeller there, but that should never even touch the ground. That's the inside of the propeller. Whew. Well, my hands are cold, so I think I'm going to go and warm my hands up before I try and do anything else. I also set up a model for this guy in my OpenTX transmitter, my Jumper T16 here that I'm, still experimenting with. So I got him set up in the internal multi-module as DSMX 22 milliseconds, and we'll see if we can bind him to this. Now, one thing I noticed when I did the two, I did him with a DX9 and I did him with this, I noticed that he seemed to get considerably higher throws. I set the same values, 70% for low rates and 100% for high rates, but he seemed to get considerably higher throws on this, which I'm sure is something to do with the nature of the transmitter. Now I'm waiting for this guy to go into bind mode. Should be some flashing lights. Yep, there they go. Can only see him by lifting him up and looking underneath in this outdoor light, though. The ground is definitely rather squelchy. You have to be careful with it. Okay, I think we're now bound to the OpenTX transmitter for this guy. Now, I have dialed the rates down a bit further in this because he seemed to be so twitchy. But I suspect he may still be a bit twitchier. Let's just check that we've got our self-leveling working properly at least.
Throttle active.
I'll put the throttle on.
Throttle hold.
Yeah, it looks like the self-leveling. Now if I take the self-leveling off, and then I got my panic to put my... Yeah, I believe that's working. I don't understand why I've got marks on the inside of the propeller there, because you wouldn't think that would touch anything. So we're in stabilized mode now. We'll make the throttle active. Now I found him a little tricky to launch before. Oops, yes, whoa. Ooh, that wasn't good, was it? Yeah, I do not find it easy to launch him at all. Maybe I'm just doing something totally wrong, but that, I don't know. I am really struggling to launch this guy. Yeah, I don't know. They say don't throw him up in the air, but it seems to me you really got to throw him up in the air to launch him. The manual says do not throw him up in the air. The manual says just sort of let him go. But to me, it seems to me you really want to throw him up in the air. Well, maybe it's just me. What do I know? What do I know? But I was totally failing to launch him. When I wasn't throwing him up in the air. I found I needed to give him some power and throw him up in the air to get him launched. I can't say he really seems any hard. I thought he'd be twitchier to fly with this transmitter. But I can't say he seems to be. Of course, I may just be that I had some practice with the other transmitter, so I'm more used to how he behaved. But, actually, if anything, he feels easier to fly with this transmitter. Maybe the slightly higher rates help, I don't know. Because I think I still, even though I dialed them down, I think the rates are still slightly higher. He definitely, I don't know. For whatever reason, I expected him, whoa, famous last words, I nearly stalled him into the ground there. Because I was trying to fly him very slowly. Because you can't go that high indoors. If I go that high indoors, I'm going to hit the lights. You got to be a bit careful with this business of, trying to fly him slowly. He's not really meant to be a slow flyer, and you will stall him. He doesn't do anything nasty when he stalls, particularly, but he will drop into the ground, of course, if you don't keep up enough speed to, keep him airborne. See there, I more or less cut the throttle there, and he was just drifting into the ground. Now, I did a couple of things that the manual doesn't say to do. Well, for one thing, of course, this is a flying wing, so it just has elevons, and they put them on the channels in such a way that they work like that. They just work on the right stick. So you've got aileron going side to side, an elevator going up and down, and the rudder stick, the left stick, left side to side, does nothing the way they set it up, the way they say to set it up, because it's, it'll be on channel 4, and channel 4 isn't doing anything. Though they don't tell you not to set channel 4 up, they just say to set it up, to put it in your DX9 as a plane, so you will have channel 4 working, but it won't do anything. Because there's no rudder, and there's no differential thrust. I had the original Delta Ray, the big Delta Ray, which is about twice this size, and has twin motors, and that has a yaw based on differential thrust of the motors. My hands are getting cold again now. 3 minutes. What I did was mixed the rudder. I dropped the elevator aileron rate a bit and mixed rudder into the aileron, so I can use both sticks, because I just prefer to do that. I prefer to have it so that either stick, left stick side to side or right stick side to side, will both have an effect. I don't like it when the left stick just has no effect. True, I'm not really operating a separate control surface. I'm just I'm just putting more rate into the same control surface, but still I prefer to do that. I do it for my little 3-channel things like the Jumper or whatever as well. Things that just have tail, just have a rudder and elevators. I mix the aileron channel into the rudder so that both sticks work. This is just a personal quirk. I just prefer to do that. So, you know. So I'm actually using both sticks, but I mean, it's not a proper coordinated turn, of course, because you can't have such a coordinated turn because there's nothing to coordinate. There's no rudder, there's nothing that actually controls the plane's yaw. Although I must say, he seems to manage to fly pretty darn stably nonetheless without. I don't know, for some reason flying him in quasi-indoor mode with this transmitter seems almost easier than the other one. But I don't know, it may just be because it's my second time and I'd had the practice with the first one. Certainly seems to be flying okay with this transmitter. Technically I shouldn't be flying with this transmitter because I'm flying a nightly build of OpenTX which says not safe for flying, and I wouldn't fly some large expensive plane with it. Well, because that's all there is with the Jumper as of the time I'm making this video. This is before a full release of OpenTX that supports the Jumper T16 has come out. So a nightly build of OpenTX is the only thing I can fly. It seems to be fine. And I just updated the firmware in the multimedia internal. Whoa. See, again, I let him get too slow there. And I would have hit the wall. I would hit my theoretical wall there. If I'm assuming the edge of the runway is the wall, I would have hit the wall there and just hit the perspex in the gym, which is very unhelpful. Not in the least forgiving. This guy's going to be a bit of a bitch to fly indoors, frankly. Just about possible, but he's going to be on the edge of what's possible to fly indoors, I think. Because he wants to go a little fast.
29,
Oh.
28, 27, 26, 25.
Better landing this time as well than last time. I came in too hot with the other transmitter.
Throttle hold.
Whoa, cold fingers. The other thing I did that isn't in the manual is the manual says to program your panic switch. Okay, put him in it. The manual says to program your panic switch on I, and they just say, all they say is to put I on AUX 1. They don't say anything about reversing it. With the earlier safe things like the Club S, you had to reverse the AUX channel. They just say all the instructions in the manual say is put channel I on AUX 1 and that'll give you your panic switch. Well, it didn't work so far as I could see. It's a piece of foam, but it's not a piece of my foam, hopefully. So I've got my panic switch. That's my panic switch. But I didn't do it the way they said. Because I tried it the way they said. I tried it putting it on, well, I mean, this is the different transmitter, but it's the same general idea. I tried putting something on AUX 1. I tried putting something on AUX 1 reverse. Neither of them seemed to have the slightest effect on the plane. At all. So, what I've done, in the case of the OpenTX program, I've just said that my panic switch overrides channel 5 to 100%. So it just puts the plane into stabilized mode. On the DX9, what I did was said that switch I was 0%. I used the digital switch setup to set switch I to 0% when not pressed and 150% when pressed, and then mixed it into channel 5. So it's mixing 150% into channel 5. That, bench testing it, at least I didn't try it in the air there, but bench testing it, that seemed to work fine, causing the plane to go into stabilized mode when I press the button. It's not what they say to do, as I say. They say just put it on AUX 1. But that didn't seem to do anything. I'm sorry, but as far as I could see, it produced no effect on the stabilization of the plane at all, sticking it on AUX 1. You know, it's not likely I'd really use the panic button much anyway, really, but you know, it is supposed to be part of the programming, so I didn't try the transmitter that came with it. It came with a little transmitter, of course, because I bought the ready-to-fly. I only bought the ready-to-fly version, as I say, because at the store I was at, I just dropped into a store after having a family thing, and they had this on sale for $132, and I asked what the bind and fly was, and they wanted $180 something for the bind and fly. Well, why pay more than $50 more to get less? It's no sense at all, obviously, so I didn't. Flying him, flies with the standard little UMX batteries, flying him with the original battery. The battery I flew him in the first time was actually, telemetry loss. See, it's telling me my plane's gone away, which of course it has. There you go. No, this is a little. This is a Turnigy 300 milliamp hour. He comes with I think it's a 280 milliamp hour. He comes with now, 30C, and I got, since I bought the ready to fly, I got one battery. Anyway, I'm not at all unhappy with him. I slammed the poor guy into the ground a couple of times, unsuccessfully trying to launch him. I think I'd probably try and see if I could get someone else to help me launch him indoors, quite honestly, because you've not got a lot of, if I'm going to try and fly him indoors, you've not got a lot of room. And I found I really needed to give him a fair bit of power and throw him up for me to safely launch him outdoors. I just couldn't get on the stick quickly enough to stabilize him and whatever. Though I wouldn't have thought I needed to in beginner mode. You'd think he would just go up naturally, more or less, giving him power in beginner mode, but I didn't seem to have much success in that happening. Both times I tried to launch him gently, he just went in. He went into the ground before I got on the stick. Both times with the two transmitters. But so I had to launch him more vigorously to get an effect. Anyway, there you go. I chilly and rather wet, but the chilly problem's causing me more of a problem. Maiden with the Delta Ray One, and yeah, I probably will try and fly him indoors, at least if he hits the perspex. Hopefully he won't break anything too much. His propeller's on the back, which is nice. That of itself, will help to make it a bit more durable. And we can maybe have some fun with him, flying him, a bit higher in experienced mode and whatever next year, and do some aerobatics and things with him. I think he should be quite a fun plane to fly outdoors next year, but this may be the only time he gets flown outdoors before this winter. We've already had a lot of snow. That's probably where most of this water comes from, is the snow melting. Anyway, there you go. A Maiden with two different transmitters with the Horizon Delta Ray One.